Welcome to Freelance Under the Hood, the podcast where we take a close look under the hood of the freelance world. I'm your host, Al Calder, a freelance writer and audiobook narrator. I'm here to help you with your freelance journey, whether you're just starting out or looking to ramp up your freelance game. You're in the right place. Hey everyone, and welcome to another look under the hood of freelancing. This time it's all about setting freelance rates. So whether you're a total pro or just starting out thinking about side gigs, this is for you. That's right, anyone who's even a little curious about the economics of freelancing, how it all works. So our mission for this look under the hood is to help you build a framework for setting your rates, no matter where you are in your freelance journey. Let's dive in. One of the first things you'll want to work on is a minimum acceptable rate. Basically the financial floor you set yourself. Think of it as the absolute minimum you can charge per hour or per project and still cover all of your expenses, have enough to live on, and ideally have something left over. Because if you go below that, you're basically working for free or even losing money, and that's not sustainable. A lot of freelancers, especially when they're starting out, tend to undercharge. It's such a common pitfall, especially when you're just so eager to get clients, and build that portfolio. But undercharging not only undervalues your skills and expertise, it actually devalues the whole freelance market. Professional design studios often bill clients 3 times what they pay their designers. It's a huge markup. You don't want to let that happen to you. On the flip side, it also suggests that you might have more pricing power than you think. Those studios, they're not just factoring in the designer's time, but also their overhead, their expertise, the value they bring to the whole project. And we as freelancers, we need to think that way too. So that begs the question, how do we actually calculate our rate? Where do we even begin? Well, it comes down to a few key factors. First, your desired income. How much do you actually want to earn each year? Then, how many days a year are you realistically going to work? And remember, this includes weekends, holidays, and vacation time. Vacation is important, super important. Burnout is a real thing, especially in the freelance world. So looking after yourself is crucial. And then you got to think about billable hours versus non-billable hours. Billable is the time you're actually working on client projects. Non-billable is stuff like admin, marketing, chasing invoices, professional development, all that behind the scenes stuff. It's all part of running your business because all of that takes time and time is money. And of course, we can't forget business expenses. Software subscriptions, equipment, maybe co-working space if you use one. All of that needs to be factored in. So once you've got a clear picture of those things, your income, working days, billable versus non-billable hours, and your expenses, then you can start crunching the numbers to figure out your rate. It sounds a little daunting, but all the pieces do fit together. It's so important to research market rates. Understand what other people in your field are charging for similar services. It's crucial. Gives you a benchmark, helps you position yourself competitively. Upwork even has this really cool freelance rate calculator to help. It's super handy. It takes some of the guesswork out of it. You can adjust variables like experience level and project scope, so you get a more personalized estimate. Okay, so we've got the foundations of our rate down, but it's not just about crunching numbers, is it? There are different ways to actually structure your pricing. There are different pricing models. Like what? Well, that's what we're going to delve into next. Okay, so we've got a solid foundation now with the minimal acceptable rate. But what about these different pricing models? What are the most common ones that freelancers use? Well, the 3 you'll see most often are hourly, per project, and value-based pricing. Each has its pros and cons. So it really depends on, your niche, your experience level, and the type of work you do. Okay, let's break these down. Hourly is pretty straightforward. You charge a set rate for each hour you work. Hourly works really well for ongoing tasks, things where the scope might fluctuate a bit. Like social media management, content creation, ongoing website maintenance, that kind of thing. It's easy to track your time, and clients often feel comfortable with this model because they can see exactly what they're paying for. It's transparent. Now, what about per project pricing? Per project pricing is ideal for well-defined deliverables with a clear scope. Things like designing a logo, creating a website, writing a specific number of blog posts. You agree on a fixed price up front, which gives both you and the client budget certainty. So if you're good at estimating how long a project will take you, project-based pricing can be really advantageous. You know exactly how much you'll earn, and the client knows exactly what they'll pay. No surprises. Okay, and then there's value-based pricing. It's a bit more nuanced. It's not just about your time or the deliverables, it's about the value you bring to the client, the impact your work will have on their business. Okay, so how do you actually calculate value, and how do you tie that to your pricing? It requires a deep understanding of the client's needs and goals. For example, let's say you're a web designer and you create a website that helps a client increase their online sales by 20%. You could then base your pricing on a percentage of that increased revenue, showcasing the tangible value you delivered. It's a really powerful way to position your services. It shifts the focus from just the hours you work to the actual results you achieve. It requires a bit more research and strategic thinking up front, but it can be a game changer, especially as you gain experience and confidence. Ultimately, you have to learn how to trust yourself and your rates. Be confident. Own your worth and believe in the value that you bring to the table. Confidence is key in any negotiation, and setting freelance rates is no different. If you don't believe in your value, how can you expect your clients to? It's like that saying, you teach people how to treat you. If you present yourself as a bargain basement, your freelance clients will treat you accordingly. But if you position yourself as a valuable asset, they'll be more willing to invest in your services. And speaking of presentation, it's essential to clearly define the scope of a project before you even discuss pricing. Otherwise, it's like you're trying to build a house without blueprints. You'll just end up with a lot of costly revisions, delays, and frustrations. Nobody wants that. It's much better to have those detailed conversations up front. Don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions. Get everything in writing and make sure both you and the client are on the same page before you start working. It's interesting how these themes of confidence, clarity, and value keep weaving together. It's not just about picking a pricing model and plugging in numbers. It's about understanding the bigger picture of how you position yourself. And as you gain experience and build a strong portfolio, you can command higher rates, especially if you specialize in a niche market. Specialization is a fantastic way to position yourself as an expert and justify those higher rates. You become the go-to person for a specific type of service. And don't forget about upskilling. The more you invest in developing new skills, the more valuable you become to clients, and the more you can justify charging higher rates. It's a continuous cycle of growth. You invest in your skills, you gain confidence, you attract higher paying clients, and reinvest in your skills. It's like a positive feedback loop for freelance success. But what about those softer aspects, like building relationships with clients? How does that factor into pricing? Well, building strong client relationships can actually give you more flexibility in your pricing. For example, offering discounts for long-term clients or special projects. That makes sense, right? It's about rewarding loyalty and building those long-term partnerships. It also makes those inevitable conversations about rate increases a little less daunting. Speaking of rate increases, how do we know when it's time to raise our rates? I mean, we've covered so much in this look under the hood of freelancing rates, from that minimum acceptable rate and all the different pricing models to confidence and client relationships, upskilling, even the global freelance landscape. But how do we actually put all this knowledge into action? It's one thing to understand the concepts, but it's another thing to actually apply them to your own business. So the first step is to take an honest look at where you are in your freelance journey. If you're just starting out, your focus should be on building a solid portfolio, establishing your reputation, and getting those first few clients under your belt. When you're new to the game, it's more about gaining experience and building that momentum, not necessarily commanding the highest rates right away. Research those market rates. network with other freelancers, and be willing to maybe take on projects at a slightly lower rate to gain experience and get those testimonials. But even when you're starting out, don't undervalue yourself. It's like a balancing act, being strategic about getting your foot in the door, but also recognizing your worth. Remember, you're building a business, not just doing gigs here and there. And to build a sustainable business, you need to make sure you're covering your costs, paying yourself a fair wage, and making a profit. That's essential. Now, what about those of us who are already established freelancers? We might need to reevaluate our pricing based on what we've learned. Ask yourself, have your skills improved significantly since you last set your rates? Have your expenses increased? Have your personal income goals changed? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, it might be time for a rate increase. They're great questions to ask yourself periodically. I still get a little nervous about those rate increase conversations. There's no doubt it can be awkward. Remember, our earlier tip about clear and transparent communication? Don't just spring a big rate increase on your clients out of nowhere. Frame it as a natural progression of your business and highlight how your increased expertise benefits them. Focus on the value you bring, not just the fact the price is going up. And remember, pricing is a conversation, not a dictate. Be open to discussing any concerns your clients might have. It's about finding a solution that works for both of you. That Upwork rate calculator is a great tool that can really take some of the guesswork out of it. It is. It takes a lot of the pressure off. And before we wrap up, we need to circle back to the global market. How do we balance staying competitive with being fairly compensated, especially when working with international clients? It's a delicate balance. The key is to be adaptable and informed. Do your research on the specific market you're targeting. Understand the cultural norms about pricing and be willing to adjust your rates accordingly. But don't undervalue your skills and expertise just to secure a project. So find that sweet spot where your rates are competitive but also aligned with your worth. And remember, communication is key. Be upfront about your rates and your expectations. From the beginning, building trust and transparency is so important for any successful freelance business, no matter where your clients are based. I hope you feel so much more empowered to set your rates with confidence after this look under the hood. It's not about picking a number out of thin air. It's about understanding all the factors, doing your research, valuing your expertise, and building those strong client relationships. At the end of the day, the most important factor is your own self-worth. Believe in your value, know what you deserve, and don't be afraid to charge accordingly. You're not just benefiting yourself, you're elevating the entire freelance industry. All right, that's it for our look under the hood of setting freelance rates. I hope you found it insightful, empowering, maybe even a little bit life-changing. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep rocking that freelance life. Thanks for tuning in to Freelance Under the Hood. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. It helps more freelancers like you find the show. Got questions or topics you want covered? Reach out to me at remoteofficeworld.com. You can also find the link in the bio. Until next time, keep on freelancing your way to freedom.